Morning, Avi. Very good morning. Let's wait for other participant, Venkat and Shreya. Uh, what is the temperature there in Qatar?
Hmm, let me see.
It will be more than 30. I think so.
No, it is still cool here.
Oh, okay, okay. Sounds good. Okay. Someone gone. Someone joined. Hmm.
It is
Mr.
22
Bankit.
here.
Yeah, morning. Yeah.
Morning, morning.
Mm.
22, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, that's nice one. Okay. And how's there in Kuala Lumpur, Venkat?
It's quite common. It is around 30.
You are just matching with, I think, India
In,
temperature, kind of, right?
yeah, same temperature, but not that much hot. In the
Yeah, yeah.
afternoon, it will reach around 36 like that. Later on, rain.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite common.
Okay,
It's like
okay.
Chennai culture. Chennai atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm. So, have you received the recordings?
Yeah.
You have to
Yes, yes.
download those recordings actually, because
Mm.
those will be not permanent, kind of weekly available. So you have to download by
Oh,
weekend itself. Okay.
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 Okay. Okay.
Yeah, to store in storage. So I think Shreya is in now, right?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
You are late today. I was also late.
No, actually, I
No
was
problem.
joining, but I don't know how that Zoom
Hmm.
is getting open and open and not able to join.
No problem. No complaint for anyone. Good morning. Say good morning.
Yeah,
Take a
good
long
morning.
breath and good morning. Okay. So you can see this whiteboard, right?
Huh.
Yes.
Okay. So how much you people are strong in networking?
Hmm.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
started my career as a network engineer, but uh,
Hmm.
I'm not into that now. So I
Okay.
forgot many concepts. But it's just okay. Fine.
Banket sir.
I think I am okay. Not that much good. Okay.
Okay. No problem.
Networking is okay.
So let's try to understand the networking. Actually, if you don't know networking, not a problem. Shreya, what about you?
Yeah, I am aware, just means I know, but
Mhm.
not work on that networking part more.
Okay, no problem. Actually, in cloud, networking is like networking got simplified actually. Anyone, you don't need CCI, you don't need CCNP, even not CCNA. Getting my point? So things are very
Oh.
simple in cloud, and network security will be also simpler likewise. You need not to
Mm.
remember subnetting, IP address, all those blah blah things, right? So things are very
Mm.
simple. Let's try to understand what I'm trying to try here. I'm trying to explain you the complete networking flow and how the networking security is going to help your cloud workloads. Okay.
Mm. Mm.
So I'm taking mixed example of AWS and Azure VM. Okay. So you will
Mm.
be able to understand what is the difference there. Okay.
Mm.
So this is your, we call it. Okay. Let's take this one like this, like this. Mm, I will use this one to get some more space, like this. So this is complete networking. You can call it VNet or VPC. Okay, VPC. Simple. And now, suppose this is another segregation I'm making it. This is subnet A, okay, and this is boundary line subnet B. This is subnet B. So I will use some shortcuts. NSG, RNACL, okay, and VM level. You can go for another thing, SG. Okay, so all the shortcuts I already used. So try to remember the top level networking in cloud, any cloud. You go Google, AWS or Azure. They're going to use VPC or VNet. VNet is for Azure, VPC is for Google and AWS. So this is your main networking, the component where the networking will start, the VNet and VPC. Inside your VNet and VPC, there will be some IP address range, right? So you are going to divide your IP VNet or VPC into multiple subnets. Hopefully you understand what is subnets,
Yes.
right? So chunks of networks divided into chunks of networks to make optimum utilization of your networking capabilities, right? So within the VNet, how many subnet you have? Two, A and B. Simple, right? There are two subnets, and in subnet A, there is a VM1 and EC1. And in subnet B, there is a VM2 and EC2. So my question to everyone, how this EC1 will communicate to VM2? My question.
Through the router
Where is the router, sir?
in the network, in the firewall, it go through the firewall and
Good try. Any other thought?
will
Good try.
They are in the same subnet, so they'll be under the
No,
same
no,
LAN.
no. Avi,
LAN
both
card,
are in
it
different
will
subnets. See, this is subnet A. Okay, just
Oh,
to make sure we are in right nomenclature. This is subnet 1, this is subnet 2. Think
okay.
now. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's
And
a
before,
hybrid, right? Hybrid network, right? Then
kind of you can think of, but try to understand what is NSG? Network Security Group.
global.
yes.
Network Security Group. What is NACL?
access control list. I'm not sure
Yes.
again. Network.
Shreya,
Yeah.
Shreya.
Yeah,
Network
network
Access
access
Control
control list.
List. Yes. And what is SG? Shreya, AWS part I'm covering for you.
Security
SG.
guards, security group. Sorry, security group.
Security groups, not security guards.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. Security group.
Yeah. So actually, oldest cloud is AWS, right? No doubt on that.
Okay.
Azure is a new cloud, but what Microsoft did, they copy paste, but in a smart way. Okay, they did copy paste, but smartly, cheating with the smartness. So where is the smartness? Anybody understanding? Actually, what Microsoft did, they combined NACL and SG.
Okay.
So in
In
AWS
NSG.
cloud, yeah, you will see two things. One is NACL, another is security group, SG. What they do, what Microsoft did, they combined both things and they named it NSG.
NSG. Okay.
And NSG you can apply at subnet level and at VM level, right? NSG you can. Okay, what is NSG? NSG is nothing as Venkat highlighted, it's a router, it's a gateway, it's a firewall, it's everything actually, in nutshell.
Okay.
So this is kind of firewall. This is kind of your gateway. You can treat it as router as well, because routing, firewall rules, and everything you are going to create in under NSG. Same way, you can create firewall rules within your security group or
Mm,
NACL. But the difference is, Shreya,
mm.
difference is you can apply SG at EC level, EC1 or EC2 level, right?
Right, right.
But NACL will be applicable on subnet level.
Hmm.
Clear?
Clear.
So now I'm coming to the question, same question again. How this VM1 will communicate to EC2? Answers, please. And this is security we are talking about. Network is part of security only. Think. Can
By
this
using
go ahead?
NSG means
Yes,
this
yes,
is
yes. NSG, NACL, security groups. Yes. So what you have to do, you have to create firewall rules within NSG, NACL, or security group. So guys and girls, don't confuse with these names actually. This is the sales propaganda from the CSPs only. Okay. No
Hmm.
major difference. See, EC1 is equal to VM1, kind of. Both are
Hmm.
servers, just only nomenclature, just to differentiate. I'm Amazon, you are Azure or Microsoft. Simple as that. Okay? Don't confuse with the names. Concept
Hmm.
is same actually. Okay?
Yeah.
So as Shreya highlighted or Ravi highlighted, right? So you have to create firewall rules with your S1. Like this is your within the subnet, you can create NSG rules, you can create NACL rules or SG rules, right? But see, you are not going to get option of NACL or SG in Azure cloud. No, never. You are going to get these options only in AWS cloud. In Microsoft Azure, what option you are going to get? Simple, NSG only.
NSG.
Yes, you can apply NSG at VM level and subnet level both, right? So suppose
Hmm.
this VM1 want to communicate to VM2, you have to create rules, means allow communication from VM1 to VM2, and you have to create another firewall rules, right? On your,
Hmm.
and suppose this is NSG1 and here is the NSG2. So you have to create another rule for vice versa communication from VM2 to VM1. Getting my point? So
Hmm.
those rules you are going to divide. Think, what is the benefit of these all nonsense? Think, what is the benefit?
Security.
Security,
Security.
yes.
Macro segment.
So is this possible in on-premise networking?
Yes, but
No, big no, sir. Venkat sir, with full respect, big no.
big no. No, no.
Yeah.
On-premise also you have that
We will do this.
virtualization is there.
Yeah, we
Hmm?
will do this. I mean, DNS, right? So we will make, like, for an
Hmm?
example,
Hmm?
if we have like 10 or 12, like a number of VMs in one EXS,
Hmm?
and we will do this DNS. So we will make them to communicate, right? Even if you are in a different subnet as well.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Fine, DNS is fine. Can you
Yeah.
read this word, what I have written here? Micro
Macro
segmentation.
segmentation.
Uh,
Venkat sir, just read it.
Micro segmentation.
What's the meaning of it?
It's a partition in a micro level.
Micromanagement, like
Micro.
our managers do in the office. Remember, micromanagement, right? What you are doing in 1 hour, in next 2 hours, what you are going to do? Evening, are you going to launch the rocket or not? Getting my point? Those kind of micromanagement you have seen in offices from your manager, from your reporting managers, supervisors. Think like that. So take example of VMware, right?
Mm.
You have 10,000 VMs in your VMware ESXi.
Mm.
Are you
Mm.
going to secure all the VMs likewise, controlling their flow from one VM to another VM? Or those things are not possible in on-premise. Getting my point? Because
Okay.
you need thousand of firewall first, hardware firewall,
Mm.
physical firewall, or you are
Mm.
going to get, your virtual firewall as well. So those
Mm.
things means micro segmentation you cannot achieve by your physical routers, by your
Mm.
physical switches, or by your physical firewalls. Clear?
Mm.
Okay. Now, another question. What is underlay networking and what is overlay networking? Anyone?
Sorry, what is?
What is underlay networking and what is overlay networking?
Like physical and virtual network.
Yeah, you are reaching there. Explain it, please.
Like when it's an underlay, like
Mhm.
physical net. I mean
Yes,
physical,
yes,
like,
yeah. Physical
and
routers, switches,
yeah,
firewalls, yeah. And what is the overlay?
it's an virtual.
Virtual cloud one, simply cloud one,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right,
In the
yeah.
cloud, are you going to see any your Cisco router, Palo Alto firewall, Venkat sir?
Mm.
No, no, no.
Mm.
We
No,
cannot see.
it's managed by Microsoft or Amazon or Google. They are managing
Mm.
it, right? So this is
Right.
the difference between underlay and overlay. Underlay networking is very tough. It's complicated. Okay,
Mm.
it's very complicated. But overlay networking, as we don't have that much of a strong networking background, we can still play with all those networking services, configurations, right? That's the beauty of cloud. So the network security, we talked about NSG, we talked about VPC, VNet, NACL, security group. By combination of those, we are going to get achieve micro segmentation, right?
Mm. Mm.
So those networking things are going to help to your workloads. So micro segmentation means you are segmenting your network to secure your each workload. Even workload means VMs, easy to simple, right? If they want to communicate to each other, they have to follow the firewall rules, NSG or NACL or security group. That much security you are going to get in networking. Clear? So just for
Mm.
foundation, I'm telling you, is it somewhere it's clear, right?
Mm.
Okay, let's remove all those things, which is already we covered. Now focus on DB or storage. Don't write it. So data security. Anyone, its data security is important and how you are going to secure. What do you understand by data security? Any thought?
Data should be in a not readable format and it is not able to reach by a third party, anybody, hackers or anybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It can be
Okay.
encrypted format.
Mm-hmm.
If the if anybody try to theft, it will not it will not be readable format. They cannot something like untar or uncompress
Right.
that data.
So when I'm calling data at rest, okay, data in transit and data in use. At rest, what is at rest? Anyone?
Store in a hard disk.
Any other example? In cloud, in your data center, at rest only, right? Simple.
Mm.
Means it is lying somewhere which is in your control, kind of on-premise data center or your cloud data centers at rest. What will be in transit?
Moving
Transmission,
from
I
one
mean.
set.
Yeah,
Yeah,
transmission.
movement. Transitioning movement means data transferring from cloud to on-premise or vice versa, kind of, or some transaction is happening, right? And what is data in use?
Like we are
And
using now, like
yeah,
Like
it is in
like
use.
application, like
Okay.
user,
Yeah.
we are using any
yes.
data. So actually, as a cloud security architect, our responsibility to secure data at rest, in transit, and in use. So we have to secure the data in all three cases, right?
Okay.
How we can secure that? Remember SSL, TLS.
Okay.
So what will be the use case of SSL and TLS? In transit.
Mm.
And what is the latest version for TLS? 1.2. 1.3 already released, but it's in preview, in testing mode. Very soon we are going to get TLS version 1.3. Okay.
Mm.
So how this TLS and SSL works? What are the encryption, hashing? So anyone, these terminology is very familiar to everyone. What is difference between encryption and hashing? Anyone? And this is interview question from Amazon. What is
Yes.
difference
Encryption.
with? Uh-huh. Go ahead,
TLS
sir.
is
Go
a
ahead.
protocol and
No, no,
SSL
no,
is
no, 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 no,
encryption.
no, 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 no. Listen question first, plus, please. What was the question? Question was, what is difference between encryption and hashing? Question is clear, sir?
Yeah, yeah. Encryption
Answer.
is all.
Mhm,
Yeah, encryption is fully. That is, file should be in encrypted format. Like
mhm,
you need a decrypting key to decrypt that one.
mhm,
The
Yes.
file should decrypt key. Encrypt and decrypt will be done by the this one SSL protocols or like that.
mhm.
This one
And
hashing means
hashing. Mhm.
I'm not sure of it.
Any Shreya, expecting from you.
Yeah, encryption is like means it is means first of all it encrypt the data means while we means it is a kind of two-way process when
Mhm,
one way is like encryption is done and another is like encryption means it has been readable and
mhm,
another is decryption, so it
mhm,
is happening or not we need to be ensure, and hashing is just a like it is like a plain text
mhm,
where it is like a some scrambled data and
mhm,
it is not in proper format in
mhm,
encryption algorithm works means
mhm.
it
So,
based on the different kind of algorithm.
mhm.
uh,
Yeah, I'm happy.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you. You actually covered 90% answers actually. So this is the right answer, as Shreya highlighted, right? Two-way encryption and decryption, right? And Venkat also covered that. But hashing is one-way communication.
right,
Means hashing your plain text will be converted into ciphertext, and nobody can change the data during transition, during transit. Getting my point? Take example.
right.
Suppose you are logging into any application. You are putting your user ID and password, right? So do you think that the same simple user ID and password will be stored in your application or in transit? No, it is going to use in your hash value, your ciphertext, and that cannot be changed by anyone, right? If anybody can change it, MIM, man in middle attack.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
if
Man
those
in
things
middle.
will be not hashing and things will be not applied, meaning is that anyone can change the data. So what is the difference between encryption and your hashing? Take example of orange, right? So suppose you squeezed the orange, it's become juice. So if I am going to ask you, can you make that juice again orange? Is it possible or not?
Not possible.
Not possible. That is hash value. Getting my
Mm,
point?
mm,
yes.
That's a hash. So remember the example of orange. Making juice unidirectional. Again, from juice, you cannot make orange, right?
Mm.
Only Alibaba can make it, but normally you cannot make that, right? Only by magic you can do that, but logically it is not possible, right? So remember the difference between hashing and encryption. That interview question was asked one of the candidate from Amazon. That was very basic question actually. Person was not able to answer even 90% like Shreya answered. Answer was only 50% and person got failed in the interview. Question is very simple, but think logically. If you
Yes.
don't know the answers, how they will think, oh, having experience of 15 years, 18 years, 20 years, you don't know encryption and hashing. Namaste, India. Getting my point? So these are very simple things, but we never focus on that because our background was never security or cloud security. Clear? Okay. So let's move on. We are going to secure our data at rest, in transit, and in use. We are going to discuss in detail what is, asymmetric, symmetric, root certificate, right? How we are going to use that, all those things in detail. So remember, now coming to database. How many type database we have?
There are uh, structural and
Structured,
unstructural databases.
yeah,
Structural and unstructural.
right. Simple thing, right? So this
Yeah.
is your DB kind of, and this is you can take simple storage kind of, right?
Ah.
Okay, just for making difference. So now coming to SQL and NoSQL. What is difference in SQL and NoSQL? If this question go to Mr. Venkat, please answer.
SQL is having a structural database, and NoSQL it can be in a raw format. It can be it don't have any like you cannot run an SQL query. You can run a SQL query, but it is not in a structural format. It is not going to store in a tables or
Mm,
table.
right. Any different thought or any add-on thought on this? Anyone?
Means like primary key and secondary key, which we use to fetch the database, is not in unstructured format. And in structural format, we know database like primary key, secondary key is used. Like
Mm-hmm.
means we can, historical data is stored in structural, and random data like to
Mm-hmm.
fetch or to guessing any algorithm, we use unstructured data. I think so.
Yeah, so like take example of RDBMS, right? RDBMS, like Oracle, right? And you have your Microsoft SQL, Azure SQL, and go for MongoDB, DynamoDB, right? Big
One
data,
second,
all
one
those
second.
things.
Uh,
Messaging,
Here,
Queen, yeah. So actually, schema master or schema, data modeling, structured data, schema,
yes.
like you're talking about primary key, foreign key, London key,
Mm-hmm.
all those things you're talking about, right? So those
Yes.
things are actually likewise structured data. But the problem is nowadays data only unstructured, like MongoDB, DynamoDB's database are more used in the market nowadays, right? In what are the logic? What are the reason behind that? Because your RDMS is like license cost, like open source licensing cost, and also data storage and all those things, complicated things is with your data modeling, data schema, and all those things, row and table, like
Right.
similar kind of data can be stored in that database, right?
Mm.
And security concerns are also there, right? So thinking like that, you have to secure your data at rest, in your transit, and in your use by using SSL TLS. And how we are going to secure the data at rest? Anyone? An example? Anyone?
In ref means it should be in a structural database format, like it is
I'm
encrypted
talking about
form.
security.
Security wise,
Mhm.
You can store in a storage in a data
Yeah,
center.
right. Anybody heard about this TDE? Like I'm taking example of Azure SQL or AWS RDS. Okay. What is this TDE? I'm just giving clue. It's transparent data encryption.
Okay.
TD you can enable for your SQL database, Azure SQL, even you can go for your AWS artist. There are other security also. You might heard about masking, data masking. All those things we are going to cover in detail in our database security, right? So storage in transit, remember SSL TLS part. Clear? This is kind of foundation. We are not going to do the deep dive. I'm just making basic foundation of security for each layer, each component actually.
What
Okay.
is the TDE? TDE short form?
Transparent data encryption means you are going to enable TDE at REST database. Suppose take example of Azure SQL. Okay. So whatever the database line, it will be secured by, like you talked about, encryption at REST. So there are differences between your SSL TLS and TDE. Okay, let me discuss this thing, then you will understand why I'm talking about these all things actually. Symmetric key in encryption and asymmetric. You must heard about that. Remember, asymmetric. Yes or not?
Yes.
Yes. So symmetric key has one key, secret key,
Yes.
one secret key. And in asymmetric, Venkat, P plus P, it's not PP, it's public and private. Okay. So means in symmetric key, you are going to get only single secret key, and that is TD. Getting my point? And asymmetric P plus P, public and private, is SSL TLS. Clear?
Yes.
Just for comparison, I'm just told you. So both are important, symmetric and asymmetric. But there are different use cases where you are going to use all those things. Okay. And the last, not least, in database security, I'm going to talk about what is BYOK. Okay, before coming to BYOK, Avi, what is BOYD?
Yeah, I don't have an idea.
Anyone?
No.
No? Bring your own
Might be I know,
device.
but for full
Bring your
form,
own
I
device. Bring your own
Oh,
device. Bring your own keys. This is
okay.
device. It's very simple actually, no rocket science. And this is your license.
Okay.
So bring your own key for your SSL TLS. Anybody heard about CA root server? CA certificate, CA root certificate? No? We'll do deep dive later on.
Yes,
Remember,
I heard.
mhm,
I heard.
heard, right?
Yeah.
So anybody heard about GoDaddy certificates, external certificates? GoDaddy, Google certificates?
Yes.
like
So
every
Banket
year
sir.
we will renew it, renew certificate.
Ah,
SSL,
yes.
yeah,
Right.
SSLT, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, we will
The,
get the key from
mhm,
key, and we will decrypt the key once again. I mean, encrypt the key once again, and
mhm,
we will
mhm.
renew the certificate. Certificate. I'm
Yeah.
not sure about the background process, like entire process, but we
Mhm.
will do this. We will do this alone. So just continue.
Even this is also enough. Need not to worry about that. Banket sir, what is
Yes.
difference between internal certificate and external certificate?
Internal certificate is like you generate your own certificate. It can
Mm-hmm.
be it is not. It is like a self-signed certificate.
Mm-hmm.
It is external certificate means you need to you need GoDaddy or some other vendor should be authorized that one,
Mm-hmm.
and they give you a validity of the period of that license, a certificate to be 1 year or 2 years like that.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So internal certificate will be used by CA root server, right? Your self-signed certificates. Internally, you have your own infrastructure into this thing. And this external certificate like GoDaddy on Google or any other providers you're going to use, those will be external certificates, internet facing certificates. Getting my point? And now, uh, do you think why we didn't, when in cloud also, why do we need our own key? Any thought?
On our own key only we can generate that key and give it to the third party vendor to
Mm-hmm.
sign it and give us a response, because
Mm-hmm.
that one is like a private, as per my understanding it is having a our private key and public key. When
Mm-hmm.
it went to the third party, like we are exposing to the internet, our public key will be there and the external vendor's key will be there. When
Mm-hmm.
that third party reach that file or anything, he
Mm-hmm.
need to encrypt with our own key, own private key and the public key.
Any example, sir? Too much theoretical. Any example, real example, sir? Anyone?
Real example is like our credit card swiping machine. When
Mm-hmm.
we swipe,
Mm-hmm.
it will ask us a gateway, something like gateway between us, and it will
Mm-hmm.
go to the secure.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot explain this one in
No.
SAP, I know.
Any real example I'm looking for actually.
A real example is like in the
Okay, leave it, leave it. I will give you
yeah,
example quickly. Remember in yesterday in our first session, we discussed about AWS or Azure disk encryption, like BitLocker. Remember? So are you going to use Microsoft keys, the Amazon key provided by Amazon, KMS, or Azure Key Vault, or you're going to use your own key? Just think before answer. Okay, I'm taking just little lighter example. Suppose I have locker or my wife has locker in bank, gold locker I'm talking about. Okay, so how things get managed actually? There will be two keys. One key will be lying with the manager, not manager's wife, only manager, and one with my wife, right? So whenever my wife want to take any gold item or any jewelry item, she will be check in bank and she will be going with the key. So public key and private key. Getting my point? Suppose my wife have given that same key to manager because manager is friend or family friend. Think like that. What will happen? You have given your keys to thief only. So in every new functions, manager's wife will be going with the different jewelries and putting again in the same locker. Getting my point? All those very common in India. That's a great example. So are you thinking, Venkat sir, you are going to ask Microsoft or Amazon, please, our VMs are lying in your data center. Use your own key, sweet own keys, manage our data by your own, and we can rely on you. Getting my point? No, never. What you are going to use? BYOK. That's a use case. Clear? Any understanding on that? So far, so good. So anybody is asking, what is your
We
customer? Go ahead.
can we use HSM, that hardware security monitor?
Yeah,
HSM.
HSM is you can use, but that will be controlled by the CSP only. Getting my point? Or you
Okay.
can use third party, and they will allow third party or not. That's also problem. If you have control of the keys, then fine. If your HSM is there and it is controlled by you, not your CSP, then I'm fine. Customer is fine. Getting my point?
Okay.
Right?
But I thought HSM is for AWS itself or not.
No, Azure also. Azure also. Don't worry about that. Azure also. Same thing. HSM is used by
No.
Azure. We are going to cover that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. This part of
So
security.
it
Don't
is a
worry.
third party or what? HSM?
It's a CSP kind of solution.
Okay, okay.
You can use third party, but it's your CSP is going to allow or not, because that is
Okay.
kind of hardware layer, security. How a CSP is
Okay.
going to provide that access? That's another discussion.
Okay, okay.
So is it
Okay.
clear, guys?
Yes.
Why I'm just emphasizing on bring your own key just to secure your data, because you cannot give key to the thief only, go and do the loot our all those accessories and everything. That is not the case. This should not be allowed. Where our, as a cloud security architect, as a cyber security architect, this is our role. Make sure that proper keys are used for different use cases. So far, so good. Any question?
Yeah.
Any thought? Anyone? Any doubt? Bankit sir, confusing? No, it should be pretty clear.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
sir?
yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Firewall and security. Just for foundation. You heard about AWS firewall, Azure firewall, application gateways, load balancers, WAF, AWS WAF or Azure WAF. What is WAF? Web application firewall.
Firewall, yes, yes. Web application firewall.
We have AWS and Azure firewall. We have NSG, we have NACL, we have security group. Why do we need so much, so many firewalls? It's confusing, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yes.
So many firewalls we're using and with different name. Okay, actually that is not the case. Go to into your flashback. Remember your BTech days. You heard about, you must be knowing OSI layer.
Yes, yes, yes.
How many layers we have?
7 layers.
7.
And how many layers in TCP? Bankit sir.
I
All
heard
tough
about
question goes to Bankit sir.
yeah, 7 layers only. That
In TCP/IP sir also.
TCP/IP also
4
7
layers are there.
4 layers. Who is given this answer?
Me, Shreya.
See, coming from the security background, she has already foundation, right? So see, those layers, concept or framework, OSI reference model, remember those theoretical things. Those things are not going to change in cloud itself. Those things will be very much intact and common when you are going to think about the security. Okay, router works at which layer? Avi.
Network layer.
Layer number. I'm not, network is fine. Okay, 3 and 4, like you go for 3 and 4, right?
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
Fine. Yeah. Okay, where your WAF is going to work? Shreya, tough question to you now.
Application layer, application layer.
Yes, application layer, layer 7. Clear?
Yes.
So try to understand all those conceptual things. These firewalls are going to work at different layers to provide different capability of the security, because security is important, because we have to manage the security. We have to make sure that proper firewalling is done there. Any example for WAF related? Anyone? Have you heard about DOS or DDoS? Anyone? DOS
Yes,
and
yes,
DDoS.
I heard. DOS is
SQL
like
injection,
yes.
and XSS, cross-site scripting. All
These
these
are
things will
the
be controlled by WAF, Web Application Firewall.
right.
Okay. So we are going to do deep dive of those web application firewalls in AWS, and these WAF are common for AWS or Azure. No change, only nomenclature differences. Simple. Even in AWS also, Shreya, we call it AWS WAF. Simple. And here in Azure, Azure WAF. Simple. Okay. What is LB? Load balancer. So if Azure, ALB, AWS, AWS LB, load balancer, right? So what is load balancer?
Load balancer is like a central component which is
Mm-hmm,
with the web application, like when we are calling like
mm-hmm,
http somex.com.
For network trafficking, we will use load
No, no, no,
balancing.
no. It is for performance of means when we store a large amount of data. So
mm-hmm,
it means for the performance purpose and for the load balancing. Means
mm-hmm,
suppose if suppose let's take one website and
mm-hmm,
if like a railway application. So
mm-hmm,
it, users means multiple users targeting that website at one time. So to balance that, we use load balance to store the data or to perform the well. We use load balancer.
everyone is right. Okay,
Yeah, I simply said network traffic. That's it. It
that's
means,
also
Yes,
right.
yes, yes,
That's
yes,
also
yeah.
right.
yes.
That's
uh,
also right. And Banker sir, you are also right. Okay. So, but Shreya has taken extra miles, extra points actually by explaining in detail. Okay. So load balancer is just to load balance your resources for to get higher performance, your high availability. HA, what is HA? High availability, right? So all those things you are going to get through load balancers. Okay. Now coming to application gateway. What is application gateway? Just to load balance your applications. But how load balancer is different with application gateway? The problem with load balancers, limitations, not problem. The limitation with the load balancers is they can load balance IP address, host name, server name. That's it. Getting my point? But they cannot load balance URLs, the website URLs. And that thing will be taken care by application gateway. And you are not going to get any security in load balancers, Bankit sir. But in application gateway, you are going to get all these security features by default, like SSL offloading, all the security features enabled in AG. So you will get questions in interview. What is difference between application gateway of AWS or Azure and your ALB, Azure load balancer, or AWS load balancer? So what you have to say? First thing, security features, and second thing, load balancer cannot load balance your application URLs. Load balancer doesn't understand the URL thing actually. Getting my point? It can understand IP address or your host name or your server name, but not URI or URL. So far, so good. Clear? Remember that. Okay. So all those things we are going to cover in our firewalling and security. Firewalling is nothing, just we have to create our incoming traffic, outgoing traffic, and we are going to create multiple rules. By default, all the ports will be blocked. All the communication will be blocked. You have to create rules, new rules to allow traffic. Okay. And where you are going to use Azure firewall or AWS firewall? To the internet, public IP. Wherever your internet facing things coming, your Azure firewall will be there to support you, to filter the network traffic and everything. Another thing is there, we call AFD, Azure Front Door, or AWS front door, right? So AFD is Azure front door also, and AWS front door also by A, right? So A is equal to Azure, A is equal to AWS also. What is front door? Anyone? Anybody heard about GSLB? GSLB? No? Global Server Load Balancing? No? Okay. So this front door will, what front door will do? Suppose you are working in SCL. So there will be portal for the employees, myscl.com, right? That's a common. Every company has their own URL for the employees. So mycompany.com. Suppose Bankit is sitting in Malaysia. Avi is sitting in Qatar and we are sitting in India, right, Shreya? So the same URL, if suppose there are different data center, one data center in Qatar, one data center in Malaysia, and one in India. So the URL should be accessible from Malaysia for data center for Mr. Venkat. And for us sitting in India, that URL should be hosted in our data center. Else, there will be latency, performance issues to access those URL and accessing the data inside that URL. So that is Azure front door. Okay, I'm cutting it here because I don't want to go into deep dive. This is kind of just foundation journey for you, just to make you aware the terminology. Okay, any question from anyone?
Right now, no question.
No question. When we'll do the deep dive, you are going to, ask those questions for sure. And remember, download all the Zoom recording and try to go through with it again. Make notes of yours, because down the line, if you are not going to make your notes, this will be, piled of lot of things will be for you, and things will be not very easy, to understand and to relate with all those things. Okay, so far so good. Any question from anyone on any topic what we already covered as a foundation? Anyone? No? No question at all.
I have a question like suppose you told now,
Mm-hmm.
suppose we are using hybrid application, hybrid cloud. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let's think like you told now, subnet 1 and subnet 2. Subnet 1 is with with
Mm-hmm.
AWS, and now my company, let's suppose example, previously I used to work on Azure. Now my company is moving on AWS. So
Mm-hmm.
and also we means can't afford that network, means we need to be like we need to be reuse that server, okay, with
Mm-hmm.
using Azure.
Mm-hmm.
So and latest one is AWS. My another subnet is AWS. So you know how we can make the connections in
Mm-hmm.
between them uh, to to work properly. Means might
Mm-hmm.
be you're not understanding my question, but means
I
how we
got,
communicate.
I understood. Okay, see, actually hold your question, park your question for now, because we are going to do a lot of deep dive on those things, the hybrid
Okay,
cloud connectivity.
okay,
So
okay,
I'm just giving this because it should not be, question not answered.
okay.
Azure Express Route,
Hmm.
okay, and there's a AWS Direct Connect,
Huh. I
okay,
heard
you
that
must heard
direct
about,
connect. Yes.
right? And there is a GCP. See, I'm into all three clouds. Don't worry about that. Interconnect, GCP Interconnect. So
Okay.
now suppose you have on-premise data center also. Just for example, okay. So you have on-premise, you have Azure, you have AWS. So what you have to do, suppose you want to connect your on-premise with AWS. So how you are going to connect? Through Direct Connect. And Direct
Yes.
Connect is like kind of virtual LAN in which all your ISP involvement will be there for the network
Okay.
connectivity,
Okay.
right? So your Azure things will be managed within the Azure cloud, or AWS cloud things will be managed in AWS.
Okay.
Getting my point? Because they understand their own network.
Right.
So if you want to communicate with VNet to VPC, it will be quite confusing because they don't understand the syntax itself. But
Right.
in between, advocate or lawyer, our lawyer or your lawyer will be those products: Direct Connect, Express Route, and Interconnect, because they know the legal language, the the networking packets, IP header, and everything. This is really nice question. Appreciated, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
but this is like generation next question,
Right. Right.
because
Right.
these things we are going to cover in later on. You not to worry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I will stop it here for a moment.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, because it's about to 9, and I already promised to Shreya I will be stopping my session by 9.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping that promise intact, and I'm giving you a heads up tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to cover SecDevOps Foundation. What is waterfall model, right? What is
Okay.
DevOps? What is agility? What is Scrum Master? And how you are going to define your CI/CD pipeline, the different tools we are going to use, and how it is going to make sure that security is already there, right? So a lot of discussion will be there in SecDevOps. And in monitoring, we are going to cover AWS CloudWatch, is Azure monitoring, operations in Google Cloud, and our SIM solution like IBM QRadar or ArcSight, or your ArcSight SIM solutions, right? Or Splunk, Sentinel, and also the CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management, Azure Security Center, AWS Security Hub. And I have a one use case, Shreya, for you especially. Means we have integrated our AWS Security Hub with our Azure Security Center. That's another use
Okay.
case for you. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's it. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.